When I was married to a covert narcissist, it was odd because here's one thing I mentioned before as far as I would be laughing as far as something in a movie, and it's a bad guy. The bad guy learns why you don't do something like that. And my ex-wife, now ex-wife, at that time wife, would be offended and be like, it's interesting. Why do you always you like to see when people get harmed? And I would say that's so interesting. But it's so interesting because we've gone through this, I think, a few hundred times now, and you always say it, and you always only say it whenever it's a hostile or evil person, when it's the bad guy that learns not to do that. Like say someone's got a hammer, they're going to hit a kid in the head, and they go back and they hit themselves in the head and they fall back. I would laugh and think that was funny. But she would sympathize with that bad guy. And if an innocent person got hurt in a movie, she would laugh and that was fine. But she always only, again, this is the consistency I talk about, would be offended and would relate to or sympathize to bad people that harm other good people. It was odd. But oh, I forgot where I was going to go with this. It had something to do. Oh, yes. So even if we had friends, when these friends would be with her, sometimes for only 5 minutes, I'd walk in the room and they look at me like this and be like completely different towards me. No one would ever told me what she said. And she told me that this always happened with her family, and they treated her that way. So now I know it's projection. And terrible family. Both sides of her family. Horrible, horrible people. Very terrible people. Shocking. And now I see why she is the way she is as far as because of genetics. But anyways, they would treat me really horribly. And our neighbor across the street and others who would see this would say, I would never allow anyone to speak to my husband that way. People were shocked by the things that she would do around me, as far as how now her friends would treat me or speak to me. And people were really put off when they would see how she was with her friends, like this little clique. Remember, we're not talking about a teenage girl in high school as far as a bully. We're talking about a woman in her 30s, even all the way up to her late 30s. But one day there was this girl, her name was Sam. She was very cruel and a drug addict. She yelled at me in my own home in a very vicious way, and I just did an apology, and then later on I spoke to my ex-wife about it, or at the time wife, as far as that's very interesting that all of a sudden when people hang out with you that they think it's acceptable to treat me that way and in front of you in our home, and that you also do nothing about it. She goes, I don't know what it is, just like that, really loud. It's like, okay, so she's turning people against me. So after people, as far as our other neighbors, would witness the way she would allow others treat me and talk to me, they would bring up this concern as far as why would you allow someone, and because, and what's nice is this was brought to me by them, as far as how lucky she was to have such a nice husband who put up with so much, who helped her with so much, who provided so much. How on earth she could allow or tolerate, but seem to allow easily to have people she speak with who are supposed to be her friends talk to me that way in front of her. And she never came up with a reason. She would just talk her way around it. But it made people uncomfortable. So when COVID hit, I sent a message to this girl, Sam, who my ex-wife said too that she shouldn't be allowed around here. My ex-wife would have me cut off our friends who would treat me very terribly. And I'd cut them off in the phone, and then they'd reach out to her, and she'd be like, "Oh, really? I don't know what's wrong with him." Yeah. And then have them come over secretly when I was at work just to turn them against me, is what that whole thing was. So, there was this girl, Sam, who was on a lot of drugs, a lot of different opioids, very dangerous, very bad temper. Um, and she became such a risk to having in our home that when COVID hit, I sent her a message and I said, Sam, this is a reminder that during this time of struggle and everything, we've already helped you so much. and you've treated me in such an intolerable way that you're not welcome in my home or near this home, and that if you need help, you do not come to us anymore. And that's how I worded it. And my, at the time, wife, the covert narcissist, saw that and blew up at me. And that's when it really clicked as far as what kind of a dangerous situation I was in, being trapped in a house during quarantine with this person that actually was offended at me for saying that to her. And that's what I knew. There's something going on between my now ex wife and that other woman. Definitely something. And very likely sexual nature. Very likely. Um, but it was just, which was funny because even then I wouldn't even care. But my ex-wife would become very offended and angry when she saw that I would not mind something like that it would not bother me because she needed the things to bother me. And you'll find this with very abusive, narcissistic types that they will get very angry and offended that something does not cause you harm, that something they do did not make you angry because that's what they're looking to do. But yeah, you got to be careful with these people because these people, like with my ex-wife, you could tell by listening to this. Found out later she was putting poison in my food and everything, trying to do black magic spells, putting her um, monthly whatever fluids in my food and everything. But a very nasty, evil, evil person, and they'll do this as far as oh, the way she viewed it is, wow, my husband's taking all this stuff from me. I'm abusing him. He's still showing me with love and compassion and will not retaliate in any anger in any way. I'm going to get away with doing all this other evil harm to him because that gives me a feeling of power. See the pain I caused this person? I did that. She even told me. She even told me, she said, well, your average person causing someone harm, they say, I did that. I have value. This person was nice to me and I violated them and I caused this harm. I have power over them. I did that. I matter. I was like, no, actually, no one thinks that way. There's a very, very rare form of kind of like psychopathy that might look at things that way. But of course, no one thinks that way. But there are dangerous people out there. And like I don't want to be bad, but just men, this has become extremely common with women today in Western cultures. Very common with women, and you have to be careful. You have to be careful because women can get away with a lot today, and you need to protect yourself from it. Not saying that women don't go through it too with men, um, but with men, it does not get reported when a man is a victim of such abuse from a woman. Um, because society treats men differently, and men, they don't care about men. That's why women need to stay together and be there for each other. Men have to be there for each other and help each other through hard times like this. And a lot of you men out there, I know this is tough for you, but if you have someone like that in your life, it's better to get a divorce. I did not think it would be great for me, but I'm going to make a video like that for the actually after this. I'll make that after this.